We're off and running on a fabulous Friday, taking a look at Circus Sportsbook, the calm before the storm. Tim, you said that yesterday. Yeah, I know. I said it again. It's not a repeat. It's a live show. That's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Tim Murray. We had 4 games yesterday. Dogs barking? Yes, a little bit. Will they continue to bark tonight? For my bets, hopefully not. Mr. Von Tobel?
Same here.
How are you, sir, as we get ready for another run at it, another 4 games. Pretty entertaining outside of UConn's dismantling of San Diego State as they improved now to 9-0 ATS over the last 9 NCAA tournament games, covering by an average of 13.6 points per game. Outside of that, games were pretty entertaining yesterday.
Yeah, and if you're on UConn, that was pretty entertaining,
yes,
right? You didn't have to sweat it out. So it was a lot of fun watching them dismantle them. It was a little bit of a sweat, actually, in the first half. Just a little bit, though, a little perspiration. At least yesterday's contests were fun, though. They were exciting. Whether or not the results were what you wanted them to be, at least we got good basketball because we did have some lopsided affairs in the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. So very excited to see what today's going to bring. Today, of course, has parity written all over it for a lot of these games. So hopefully we get exactly what we're going to look for, except for Purdue. You can blow them out. I would accept that. But we'll see what happens. And also, of course, elephant in the room, very, very sad about my Iowa State Cyclones getting eliminated. Yep. I was the only one on the bandwagon. And there was a good reason why, because it went careening off the cliff.
Well, hey, at least the team you backed didn't get knocked out in the first round. That was my belief that Auburn would beat UConn. Well,
they're going to talk about Kentucky.
Auburn might have beaten. No, I was not on that train. See, it was funny. There were a couple moments during this tournament where I got to laugh for a little bit and then get kicked in the fellas. We were in a Survivor contest together. And yes, the emphasis on were, because JVT and a handful of others were on Arizona. And Arizona gets upset by Clemson. All right, get them out of the way. Here comes Tim for the gold. And then Iowa State lost. So in said small Survivor that we're a part of, only 2 people are left.
Good for them.
Only 2 people are left in that. So
think I could buy a piece of that? Let's go.
Yeah, we'll work our.
If I buy a piece, then I'll stand on the stage next to them when they win.
A lot of inside jokes going on here. Let's take a look at the market as we sit here less than a little over an hour away from the start of the Sweet 16. Getting us started will be the South Regional Semifinals, NC State and Marquette. We've seen movement here today. Money coming in on the Golden Eagles of Marquette. This is out to 7 across the board, 7.5 at DraftKings. So money coming in on Marquette, not believing in NC State. So NC State, who took care of Texas Tech in the first round, beat Oakland in overtime in round 2. They are now catching 7.5 if you do like the dog at DraftKings. 30 minutes after that, they'll tip off in Detroit, and we've seen money come in on Gonzaga. Some dog money coming in as this now sits market-wide at 4.5 in favor of Purdue. JVT, we were talking a little bit about this earlier before we came on the airwaves, because Purdue-Gonzaga opened 4.5, got out to 5.5, and has now been bought back down to 4.5. So it looks like we are going to close where we opened with this Gonzaga-Purdue game. You like you like Purdue.
Freudian slip.
Yeah, slip there, my bad. And you got an early good number, #sharp card.
No, it's gone, man.
What'd you get?
I laid 4. So, it's going to be gone here pretty soon.
No. Would you lay 4.5 now?
I think so. I mean, look, I think Purdue is in a spot to, kind of, I shouldn't say throttle because Gonzaga's a very good team, but they're playing really good basketball. And when you have a guy like Zach Edey, who has shown, I think, a little bit of an improvement with the way he's handled some of these double and triple. Utah State was sending 3 guys at him. And it was hilarious because it reminded you of, an adult playing, some sort of athletic activity with a bunch of little children, because he's just, standing there a foot above these guys. Okay, I'll just find my shooters. I'll pass it out of the post. We'll move the ball around. And they know how to handle a defense that is going to throw multiple bodies at Zach Edey. On the flip side, if you're defending, the one thing that I keep harping on, and a lot of people do, and I think it's fair, look, Purdue, I think there is a way to go at them, but I think it's with more guard-oriented, perimeter-oriented offenses. Graham Ike's Gonzaga's best player, and they're going to run a vast majority of their possessions through him. He led them in usage rate. So when you're playing through a low-post player against a team like Purdue, it's not really going to put them in an uncomfortable position defensively. That's why I came in and bet this thing early. So we'll see if this, what happens here. But not surprising, I think, that now that a vast majority of people are getting their irons in the fire, that this thing's heading back toward Gonzaga.
So I just want to make this point about Purdue Gonzaga. About Purdue. I have not bet this game, and I don't plan on betting this game. This is one of the games tonight that the early slate, I don't love either one of the sides. If I had to lean, it would probably be both favorites, which makes me a little queasy. But I wanted to point this out because what did we discuss last night? Rightfully so, about UConn. Oh, man, another ass whooping. Crushed them. Way to go. Beat San Diego State. Squashed them like a bug. Beat them by 30. Purdue in round 2 beat the champion of San Diego State's conference by more points. Can we give Purdue some love too? UConn's awesome. UConn is rightfully the favorite to win the national championship. I'm not denying that. But because Purdue lost to Fairleigh Dickinson, lost to St. Peter's, yes, I'm aware. Yes, Matt Painter's never been to a Final Four. Can we give them a little bit of credit? They went out there last round. They beat a team in Utah State that won the Mountain West outright, finished 3 games ahead of San Diego State in those standings in the same conference, and they beat them by more points than UConn beat San Diego State. So it does feel like, and we'll see. The games we played here shortly, you like Purdue. I don't have a bet on this game. Gonzaga could certainly get hot from 3. We've seen that before. But, man, it does feel a little bit like, they lost to Fairleigh Dickinson last year.
No, of course. I mean, look, or in this perspective, right? So we're all enamored.
And the guards are better, by the way. The guards are better.
And we're enamored with the way that UConn is playing, and rightfully so. And a lot of it has to do with last year, right? This run that they have been on since last year's tournament has been incredible. However, if you look at it too, Stetson, you crushed them, rightfully so. If you're UConn, Purdue absolutely crushes Grambling State. You're supposed to do that. Northwestern, similarly rated opponent to Utah State, right? 40th in KenPom, Utah State right now 49th. You crush them. Same thing with Purdue. So we'll see what happens here against another opponent that is very, very good and highly rated. But I just think that, to your point, Tim, it's all about, we like to say that we're looking at what we saw recently, but in reality, we're still looking at the bigger picture and remembering what happened last year. Oh, this team, no way. So of course they're going to continue to fail. But we always talk about, it's never happened until it happens, right? You can't say, that team's never going to win anything because of this. Well, it could, right? A 16 seed had never gone down. Then we saw it twice. And then Virginia, everybody kept talking about it. With the way they play, they're never going to win. And then they did it. So I think when you look at, just to your point, analyzing this and going, well, Purdue's failed in the past, so thus they're going to fail again, I don't think that's the case. And through 2 games, I have seen a team that at the very least has not let off the gas at all. They have beaten the brakes off of their first 2 opponents by a very wide margin. And they've looked impressive doing it.
We're live on YouTube, youtube.com/VSiN Live. We'll have our favorite plays of the Sweet 16. We'll also have some NBA thoughts as well as the hour goes on. Scheduled to join us here in studio from the 3-man weave. We'll have 2/3 of the weave. Kai McEwen and Matty Cox will join us in studio here in just a little bit. We had Jim Root in studio yesterday, and now Kai McEwen and Matt Cox will jump in here in just a little bit. We'll break down the 4 games with them. But as we sit here this very moment, another move towards Marquette, out to 7.5 now at Circa. So that late money coming in right now on the Golden Eagles. I would agree with it. I think it's a lot to lay. Look, if you want to pair Marquette up in a money line parlay, sure, that's certainly a route to go. But I think Marquette is a team to look at here in this spot. You're getting a bad number, obviously, but I agree with this market move. Quickly, we'll have plenty of time to preview the late night affairs. Duke, Houston, Creighton, Tennessee. We'll start with Creighton, Tennessee. This game will be the late night one in Detroit. Market's been moving with Tennessee. Earlier this week, we broke this game down on the show. We put up all those clips on YouTube. I laid the short money line price earlier this week with with this Tennessee team. I think they're going to be tougher than Creighton. Creighton always makes you worried betting against them, JVT, because of their capabilities of shooting from long range. They've got so many different shooters. Trey Alexander, Baylor Shireman, Stephen Ashworth, even Kalkbrenner can go out and shoot the three. They don't make mistakes, but I really believe that even though, and you made a really good point regarding like shot quality and things like that earlier this week, because it is a new arena. But I think that Tennessee, you're not going to get another 3 from 25 performance from them from 3. And they survived that. And I think their defense is strong enough. I think Zakai Ziegler is going to make it tough for Stephen Ashworth. So at 3.5, it's getting a little rich for my blood. The money line price is steamed out. But I like Tennessee here in this spot. And I'm happy to see the market has moved from where I bet it at minus 145 now to minus 180.
And to be fair to Tennessee, too, I think a lot of people look at their shot profile or statistics and go, okay, on the surface, they're shooting 33.9% from 3 for the season. But they also shoot a high volume of threes. So, like, you're offset a little bit by that because if you take a higher volume percentage, it's going to go down. So I think they can, keep up, for lack of a better term, with the shooting of Creighton. For me, and this is not something I felt strongly enough to bet, but as we've talked about, the way Creighton plays, the slow pace, the high amount of shooting and percentage and volume, I think it lends itself to being able to pull this thing off against Tennessee.
That's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Tim Murray, and we continue to break down the Sweet 16, getting you ready for all 4 games tonight, the Midwest and the South Regional semifinals. We'll chat with 2 fellas from the 3-man weave, Kai McEwen, Matty Cox. They join us in studio next.
This is VSiN PrimeTime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the sports betting network.
With so many bottles to choose from, it's easy to find your favorite, all at the lowest prices for over 30 years. Find what you love and love what you find at Total Wine & More. Drink responsibly and be 21.
Sweet 16 getting underway in less than an hour. It starts in Dallas, Texas. First up, Marquette against NC State. Shortly thereafter, we pivot over to Detroit, Little Caesars Arena, Gonzaga, and Purdue to break down all 4 games. We had 1/3 of the 3-man weave yesterday in Jim Root, and today we bring in Matt Cox and Kai McEwen, the other 66.6666% of the 3-man weave who have been doing live shows here at Circa. We'll continue to do so all throughout the weekend, right, gentlemen?
That's right, yeah. Saturday and Sunday. Been great so far. We had a little snafu with the computer today. Overheated. Had to restart the stream, but don't worry.
If anyone's in town and wants to just hold a towel over the sun to kind of block that'd be great. So we'll
free internships are available. Yeah. Let's jump right into it, fellas. And maybe if we have time, we could take a look briefly at Saturday. But first game up, NC State Marquette. And as we sit here, hooks are arriving on this number here. 7.5 across the market. I threw it at Jim last second, and he kind of froze. And he did tell us that his best bet was we're friendly enough. His best bet was over 151 is the total. 151.5 is out there too. Matt, I'll start with you. Where do you look at this one? Is there a bet that you like NC State Marquette?
I think Jimmy has the winner on the over. We talked about this on our show today. I think it's a slower. The pace isn't going to drive this. I think it's efficiency. I think both teams can score pretty easily. Transition, not as much. They're not pressing as much as they were early in the year. I think depth concerns on both sides. And DJ Burns, the vending machine, you can't run up and down and gas him. You got to keep him in the game. But when he's in there and dishing and diming and wheeling and dealing inside, I don't see how Marquette stops him. But I think Kai's got the stronger Wolfpack lean here. I have a lean. I think Kai's got to play in this one. Bart Torvik using his time filter. If you just kind of isolate, again, cherry-picking goalpost moving here, but the last 3 weeks, this spread should be about 2. I mean, NC State's been that good. Marquette been good, but, let Colorado get back in those games. They've not been as consistently dominant. So I think there's a real narrative or a real reason to believe that this NC State team is just a different team. It's not a fluky run. Well, they had some fluky results. I think they're playing like a top 20 team. So.
Yeah, I think part of it is their guards. It's Taylor, Morcell, and Horn have been so good with the ball, not turning the ball over. Obviously, you don't make mistakes. That's a huge way to win a game. Now, NC State's ball screen defense is terrible. I think Kolek's going to really take advantage of that. But I think Burns has a real advantage against Iguodaro. So I do agree with Jim's over. I do like the NC State Wolfpack here. I'm going back with my ACC first game, round 7 pick here. Took Clemson yesterday.
Yeah.
Going NC State today. More so heart than anything else. But I really think NC State's guards make a difference with not turning it over.
All right, well, let's go to the one at the top of the rotation, Gonzaga and Purdue. I'm very curious because I'll ask you, we started at like 4, we got it to 5.5. The buyback's starting to come. Would you agree with the initial line move, or do you agree with the people coming in late and buying some on the
No, I agree with the buyback for sure. Yeah, I'm on Gonzaga 5 myself. Got it at Circa here just this morning. And more so I think the game planner makes a difference in this game. I think Mark Few is going to have the better game plan than Matt Painter. Both teams will play through the post. That's what they like to do. EK versus Edey. We saw it earlier this season as well. In the Maui, Purdue won that game. Edey had 0 fouls. EK had 4. That's a huge concern. If EK's in foul trouble, Gonzaga's in trouble. But I do think the coaching comes into play here. I would like to see Purdue move on, get redemption for the 16-1 loss, but I am with Gonzaga at +5.
I fear that the whistle is a huge part. This game and the Duke-Houston game, which I'm sure the whistle's a huge part of this game. Up front, can EK get one on Edey? Does Edey get the whistle he's got for most of the
so good. He averages less than 2 fouls a game, right? That's totally legitimate.
Right, yeah. So are you on the anti-Edey? The Big Ten Twitter has gone completely out of control. Purdue's on their own island at this point. They can't. Right. They have no friends.
There is just part of me that wants to see Creighton Purdue just because it's the unfouling team versus the team that gets fouled all the time. But I bet Tennessee, so I'd rather win money than any of that. Maddie Cox and Kai McEwen in studio with us, part of the 3-man weave. They're doing live shows at Stadium Swim all throughout the weekend, so make sure to check them out. Check them out on Twitter as well, at 3MW_CBB. Let me just say, the true 3-man weave. I know there's some people out there doing some segments called 3-man weave. Yeah. It's a true 3-man weave here. All right.
I saw that.
Our lawyers are already on the case.
Yeah.
Really?
Cease and desist. Yeah, there might have been a network out there.
Major network, we'll say.
All right, let's get to the night slates.
Fox News, man, that's crazy.
I do not have a bet in pocket on either one of the first 2 games. The nightcaps are where I do have 2 bets, and we'll start just chronologically. We'll go to Houston Duke. It's interesting. A lot of people I respect here at the network. Matt Humans, to name one, is on Duke. A lot of people, I think Mitch Moss is on Duke. There's a bunch of people who like to. I'm on Houston, and the betting market seems to be kind of split on this one. I think it's a little bit of a sell high on Duke after the performance we saw from James Madison. I also trust in their experience. I think they're tougher. I think Duke's a little more of a finesse team. I don't want to lead witnesses here. So, Kai, I'll start with you. Houston laying 4 against Duke. Total 134, we'll call it. Depending on what you want, you can get a 134.5. You can get a 133.5.
Yeah, I did take Duke, but it's strictly an emotional hedge. I want to see Houston move on. I'm not a Duke fan whatsoever. Duke can shoot, and that's what you need to do against Houston. If you can shoot, you have a chance to win. I do worry about Houston's physicality, just punching Duke in the mouth right away. And if you haven't seen that or you're not used to that physicality, it can be shocking. And you've seen Houston kind of blow teams out early on, even in this tournament, in the first 10 minutes. If Duke can overcome that, and if Duke can get Houston in foul trouble like A&M was able to do, not really their forte, but it's possible. I think Duke can hang around. Again, hoping Houston wins, but I did take a little bit of +4.
Maddie?
I kind of talked myself into a weird zigzag seesaw bet. I think Houston comes out, and I think their pressure, their defensive intensity kind of catches Duke off guard a little bit. I think I like Houston first half, but on the full game, I don't see any bargain in this number. I think it should be closer to 2.
Okay.
But I'm with you on just like, if you just ignore the number, everything about the matchup does favor Houston. I keep bringing up the Arizona example in non-con. Zona comes into Cameron. First time Duke had really seen some big boys up front, and they just took it to him, right? I mean, Kyle Filipowski, again, back to my whistle point, will he be in foul trouble early? Shires, he'll give a quick hook if he does pick up that first and that second. Houston will try and go inside, I think, pretty quickly here. The over is actually my biggest lean. I think both teams, are scoring, especially Houston. I think y'all think of those like a defensive grinded team, but they've gotten out in transition. We saw in A&M, they were willing to push the pace. Shed can get in the lane in the crease through the defense. And then the way Sharp's been shooting it, I think, Sampson's really leaned into him as like, we don't have a ton of depth. Our big guys are good, but a little bit hobbled. We talked about the Roberts shin thing. He only played, I think, 8 minutes in that first half last game. I think they are looking to score more than I think their identity at least the conception of their identity is showing.
All right, I like it. All right, we'll stay with you then, Matt. What are we doing here? Creighton, Tennessee, 142.5 the open, 145.5 now on the total. We're up to about 3.5 here on the side.
Just bet the better coach here. I'm sure you guys have decided the Rick Barnes tournament woes, and this team is different than his past teams. So you could argue he has addressed some of the shooting concerns, the concerns that they've had against zone defense, which Creighton's not a zone team, but in these games, as you go deeper and deeper, you see things from coaches that you haven't seen all year. So it's hard to look at what teams have done all season and project that forward. I think you're going to see some curveballs coming out here. But the way Dalton Knecht shoots it, I do think this is a different team that Barnes can actually get over that hump. I'm still betting Doug McDermott versus Rick Barnes here. I counterpunched at 4.
Is Doug coaching now?
I'm sorry, Greg. Thank you.
I thought I saw Doug on the injury report. For
Doug, man.
Is Doug playing tonight? I would like that.
No, I'm on Tennessee. I'm with you,
All
Tim.
right, there we go.
I'm on Tennessee. But Creighton, their inability to force turnovers, I think, just makes their margin for error so thin, especially against a good team like Tennessee. Creighton's going to run Tennessee off the three-point line, funnel them into Kalkbrenner or into the mid-range. I think that plays right into Tennessee's hands. They're very comfortable in the mid-range. Dalton Knecht, he's going to get his points tonight, I believe. I'm not really worried about Creighton out-toughing Tennessee. It's really tough to do. And this new Tennessee team under Rick Barnes, they run. They get out in transition. They can score. That's different than the past couple of years. We saw them do early exits in the tournament. So I do like Tennessee here.
All right, let's just put a bow on it. We're going to do our best bets coming up bottom of the hour. Matty Cox, you can follow him on Twitter at Matty_Cox. Kai McEwen at Kai_3MW, part of the three-man weave. Best bets for tonight. Right. Matty, I'll start with you.
Zags. Yeah,
Zags.
I trust Mark Few to get that revenge.
Still
from,
a 5 out there.
Yeah,
Caesar still has a 5. All right.
It's got to be 5. I'm not going below 5.
All right.
I'm going NC State. I'll take the hook. I'll take 7.5.
Yep. All right. 2 best bets, Gonzaga and NC State. All right, before we get out of here, let's slip in a thought on Illinois, UConn, the runaway freight train that is UConn, the covering monster. Are you daring to step in front of the train?
I'm stepping in front. I'm taking a charge.
Are you?
I'm going Illinois.
Me too.
I'm
waiting.
Let's go.
But I think I'm waiting.
Keep
betting it.
It's not going down, right?
No way.
They won 9 straight by 13 plus.
9
UConn?
straight by 13.6 points per game.
I tried to adjust my ratings this morning real quickly here. UConn is playing to the highest rating we've seen in the last decade, higher than Gonzaga and Baylor a couple years ago. I mean, it's just a different team right now. It makes no sense.
They're insane.
Defies logic.
10 seconds. What's the ceiling for the number? Does it get to 10?
Oh, please.
I hope so.
I'll be a line at 10. I'll be a line at 10.
Let's follow them on Twitter at 3MW_CBB. They're doing live shows all weekend long at Stadium Swim here at Surf.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Get a VSiN Pro subscription for less than $200. Check it out now. It's for a full year. You get daily best bets, betting splits, access to the March Madness betting hub, and as I always stress, all of our write-ups in every single sport, every single day. That's right. Not only Major League Baseball, but the Ultimate Fighting Championship, yes, the UFC, and more. Promo code PRIME, PRIME. Get that annual sub for less than $200.
It is VSiN Primetime. We are free streaming every first hour, youtube.com/VSiN Live. Couple people jumping in on the chat. Someone asked, is this a chat? Well, sure, Ben. If you want to chat with us, we're there, youtube.com/VSiN Live. And he also had a question, where you can find VSiN? Well, JVT, there's lots of ways you can find VSiN. YouTube TV, we're a part of the package there. VSiN.com, obviously. If you sign up for one of our subscriptions, you get all of our video right there. And you can always listen to VSiN for free. VSiN.com, on the app, one of our many affiliates across this country. So thanks for jumping in the chat there. But the first hour of this program, each and every day, VSiN, youtube.com/VSiN Live. We always stream that first hour for free. Thanks to Matty Cox and Kai McEwen. Differing opinions. I liked it. Matty was his best bet was the 5. If you could find the 5, there's still I did see one out there on Gonzaga, so going a little head to head with you. And then Kai McEwen, his favorite bet was he's going to gobble up the points with NC State as that market continues to rise out to 7.5. And yesterday we saw late money come in on Clemson, and they, as a dog, won outright, of course. Curious to see if the market is accurate on this one as the money continues to come in on Marquette, up to 7.5. We will go behind the counter top of the hour to get the latest right before tip-off happens. But let's get to best bets. We'll do Sweet 16 first, and then any NBA plays in a 12-game slate from Mr. Von Tobel to get into. I'll let you lead off, sir. What do you want to roll with here? I don't know what you're laughing about, but
all right. I don't want to get in trouble. So let's go. Okay. Because I got a couple of things. Sorry, I got some irons in the fire. I was looking at some baseball stuff, too. For NBA, we'll go two things. First off, Philadelphia and Cleveland. Walk with me here. Right now, Cleveland, 7.5-point favorite. Totals from 212 to 211. I bet this under 212.5. Think 212 is playable. When you look at both of these teams, Tim, the things that really stick out is, first off, we'll start with Cleveland. And really for both teams, pace is going to be a really big slog here. For Cleveland, when you look at the way that they have been playing, as well as the Philadelphia 76ers, both teams really floating around like 94, 95 possessions per game. And so you're starting to see this really kind of get to a crawl when it comes to the tempo that they're going to play at. For Cleveland, you're starting Evan Mobley and Jared Allen together once again now that you're fully healthy. And, of course, that leads to a dip in offensive efficiency because the spacing is a little bit of an issue while being elite defensively. Donovan Mitchell should be back today. We'll see if that's going to be officially official. I haven't checked his Twitter account. Has he tweeted out hashtag let him know? Because, of course, I think it's 121 out of 122 times that he's tweeted that he ends up playing. And when you look at Philadelphia, one of the things that has changed for Philly outside of them changing their pace, Kyle Lowry, of course, is now starting for them, Tim. He has been a great defender. He's been a super solid on-ball defender, improved their defensive efficiency by about 5 points every 100 possessions when he's on the floor. So we're talking about slow tempo, good defense. There we go. Donovan Mitchell officially reporting. Yep, right. Hashtag let him know.
Let him know. I'm looking at it right now.
So
hashtag let him know.
And that's really big for them overall, but still, their starting five really does still struggle with efficiency. So all of this considered, bet this thing under 212.5, and some 2-11s are starting to pop. So let's pray for a boring game here, folks.
Hashtag sharp card. Official play under 212.5, you said?
Yes.
Okay. 212's still readily available out there. Where we're showing 211, that's what DraftKings has, but if you look around, there's a 212 to be had. All right. This game has not moved, so I will give this bet out right now. We've talked about these games. It feels a little NFL college football-y where, we talk about games all week and then the lines move. And I know a lot of people right now sitting, watching us, listening to us, want bets for games that night. That's why we do have VSiN.com/picks. We put in our picks as the weeks go on. So just note that there. Sometimes if you're looking to bet a dog, like, for instance, me on tomorrow, I'm not going to bet Illinois yet because I'm going to wait and see where this puppy goes. Maybe we get to 9.5. Please, let me get a 10. But Duke-Houston hasn't really moved all that much. I did lay a 3.5, but I think 4 is still playable. 4.5, we're getting a little uncomfortable. So still would lay the 4 here with Houston. Look, we'll start with the questions of why this won't come home. Well, Duke's a really good shooting team, as we talked to with Kai and Matt just a little while ago. They are a top 23-point shooting team. Just had a performance against James Madison where they went 14 of 28 from long range. Why I believe Houston will cover this number? They're one of the best three-point shooting defenses in the country, holding their opponents to 30% from long range. Houston got attacked on the glass by Texas A&M. They had 26 offensive rebounds. Duke's pretty strong, JVT, on the glass, but not like Texas A&M. Texas A&M is elite on the offensive glass. We have not seen metrics like what they put up. So I think Houston will be a little bit more comfortable in that. And lastly, I just believe in this Houston backcourt of Jamal Shead, of Cryer. I think this team is going to be ready coming off of a scare, which is what exactly happened against Texas A&M. And we talk about it so much, right? The buy low, sell high, the variance, all of those kind of key buzzwords. Duke just beat James Madison by 38 points, obliterated them, embarrassed them. Houston, on the other hand, the 1 seed in this region, was life and death with Texas A&M. Now, you could also say that Houston didn't play all that well in the Big 12 championship, which is fair. But all in all, I'm going to take the better defense. I'm going to take a team that seems to be getting a little bit better offensively. You heard the guys talk about Emmanuel Sharp and how well he's been playing. So I laid the 4 with Houston. I think this is a spot where the Cougars just kind of flex a little bit. And we saw this last year. I wrote it up for VSiN.com, and I don't know if it's an apt comparison, But last year in the first round, Duke beat Oral Roberts, who was kind of a sexy upset pick. Tennessee, on the other hand, survived against UL Lafayette. Everybody and their mother bet Duke. They laid the number. Tennessee won by double digits. Tennessee was a much tougher team, physical team. I think Duke has a chance to play a little bit more physical here. If Duke shoots the ball incredibly well, we're in trouble, but ultimately laid the 4 with Houston in this spot, and that is my best bet for tonight.
Cool. All right. One more in the NBA, too. Portland Trailblazers at the Miami Heat. So hopefully I don't get burned by another probable tag for Jimmy Butler here, but we're going to take a leap of faith. And Miami, this is probably the healthiest Miami has been in a really long time, Tim. Kevin Love's expected to return from his 14-game absence. Jaime Jaquez, Caleb Martin are listed as probable. Bam Adebayo's not in the injury report. And Jimmy is listed as probable. So you could get like the whole band back together finally after a really long time for a Miami team that has plenty of motivation, right? They are just a game out of the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. They are only a half game ahead of Philadelphia for home court the play-in. They desperately need to continue to win to try to get out of this. And it makes such a big difference, too, when you're talking about ending up in the play-in and facing one of Milwaukee or Boston in a first round, or grabbing a 6th seed and facing Orlando, New York, right? Like, you think any of these teams? Like, that's a really big difference. So this is going to be a team that wants to come out and play really well. In Portland, it just really beat up at this point. We'll see if DeAndre Ayton and Matisse Thybulle could play, but Jeremy Grant's doubtful. We know that the rest of the crew has not been playing. The other day, they started 5 rookies. So this could be a team that's really up against it. So I think, given the motivation, the fact that Miami's coming in on 2 days of rest after the loss to the Golden State Warriors, the fact that Miami is a team that prides itself and is primarily a rim resistance team, we'll call it, doesn't give up shots within 4 feet of the basket. By the way, Portland loves to get shots within 4 feet of the basket. So if you make this team shoot mid-range jumpers, shoot three-point shots, it's not what they want to do. So I laid Miami 8 first half. I don't want to put myself in the category. Portland's actually got like a much better fourth quarter net rating because they're just getting smoked, and then a lot of people are just putting their scrubs in, and they're allowed to get back into these games at these big numbers. So by offsetting that risk, I'll go with Miami first half here, a team that's looks like it's going to be healthy, motivated to come out after a good 2 days off, get ready to go against the lowly Portland Trailblazers.
All right, so 2 plays from Mr. Von Tobel on the NBA card tonight. Miami -8 first half. That game starting at 8:10 Eastern, and then under 212 is the current number in Portland. And Philadelphia and Cleveland, I beg your pardon. So those 2 plays for you on the NBA side of things. We'll get a primetime primer. We'll run through a bunch of games starting at 7:10 Eastern. We'll also hit on all these Sweet 16 games. It was interesting to note, I believe it was Matt who mentioned this from the 3-Man Weave, who talked about Houston maybe in the first half. So I could maybe talk myself into that as well. I do have a lean on Tennessee. We'll get to that on the other side of the break. But you have another play for us?
Sure. I mean, I did go first 5 with the Miami Marlins today against the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Baseball for us.
So
okay.
I mean, because I'm kind of I like baseball, so I wanted to bet some stuff. I also put together a moneyline parlay just for fun, which we could talk about a little bit later. But yeah, for the real serious play though, I am going with AJ Puck. Let's go. Now, I do think a couple of the numbers here when you look at Pittsburgh versus left-handed pitchers too, like 25th in weighted runs created plus, 23rd in K rate last year, 24th in WOBA. Puck's pretty solid. I think that this is a sign to buy Tim. 3.97 ERA, but some of his advanced metrics, 3.59 FIP, 3.04 expected ERA. You could expect maybe a little bit more of a better performance here. And Perez, 4.45 ERA last year, 4.99 FIP. I know a lot of the advanced numbers kind of paint flawed pictures with guys who pitch the contact, but I believe in this Marlins team a little bit above average against guys like him. So let's do it.
All right, so Marlins first 5 in addition. We have a little Marlins Heat parlay there. JVT loving the boys from South Beach. Primetime Primer, get you ready for everything you need to know. Next.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
There's never been a better time to have skin in the game with a DraftKings Sportsbook, because right now we have a VSiN exclusive offer for new DraftKings customers. You can earn a $500 bonus bet for every $1,000 you wager. You're going to earn $2,500 worth of bonus bets in your first 3 days on DraftKings. Don't wait. Download the app now. Use code PRIME when you sign up. Earn a $500 bonus bet for every $1,000 you wager now.
We are live each and every day on YouTube, youtube.com/VSiN Live. Of course, you can be a VSiN subscriber. What's our promo code? Prime?
PRIME.
$199 for the whole year, ladies and gentlemen, and you get live streaming, you get everything we have to offer, you get our picks page, all of it. $199 for the whole entire year. But on the YouTube live stream, there's the comment section, and during Selection Sunday, it was very lively. We loved it. And Tim has chimed in here on the chat. He said, if UConn wins it all, I break even. If Creighton wins, I win a bundle. If Tennessee wins, I'm profitable. How should I navigate moving forward? Thanks, Tim. Appreciate the question. You can always tweet us, too. He's at MeJVT. I'm at Tim Murray. So, I mean, I think ultimately, I don't want this to be a cop-out, but I think the question to Tim would be, do you think Creighton's going to win? Do you think Tennessee's going to win? One of those teams is obviously getting eliminated tonight. So one of your futures is gone tonight. Who do you think is going to win? Like, do you want to get involved? If you're sitting on a UConn ticket and you break even, do you think you want to add more to that? How would you attack that? Would you go game by game? Look, right now, there's not a really ton of value in the futures market. I would say if he was set to make a bundle on UConn, you could come in on the no price and really set yourself up with winning both ways. But I think it's just kind of a game-to-game situation and your personal preference of how you look at this tournament playing out. Do you think Tennessee or Creighton's going to come out of that side of the bracket? If so, then maybe you just sit back and you have a UConn future that looks pretty darn good, and maybe you get Creighton or Tennessee to play them in the national championship.
Well, also, the reality is you're just not at a point right now where you can actively hedge realistically. So the real answer is if you actively want to hedge here, you just got to wait. You got to wait because one of your tickets is guaranteed to move on to the next round because they're playing each other in Creighton and Tennessee. So obviously you'll be pulling for, judging by the comments here from Tim, you're pulling for Creighton because if you want to win a bundle, then Creighton, of course, you want to win and move on. But you've got to wait until you're in a situation where you can actually take someone off of this, which would, of course, be these teams making it to a Final Four. Because then, of course, maybe you can take a little bit off of it and then move on to the next round. You go from there. But that's the reality is generally it looks kind of tempting. But at this point right now, you're not in a position where you can realistically hedge a profit yet.
Yeah, because, unless you had, and neither one of those teams, maybe you got a decent price on a Creighton or something like that. But neither one of those teams was, in the 100-plus range, So, but appreciate the ask, a question, and best of luck to your futures. Hopefully your Tennessee future continues because I do like.
I hope your Creighton one wins.
Hey!
I want him to win a bundle.
Why? You don't want your co-host to win his bet tonight? It sounds smart.
Is it going to be a bundle?
I mean, I don't know.
No, I want the other Tim to win a bundle.
I want this show to sound smart.
I think we do sound smart, but I want one of our listeners to win a bundle. I'm always down for somebody to win some money. Come on.
We have not touched on this game. We did get thoughts from Kai McEwen and Matty Cox as well. Creighton, Tennessee. We've seen the market move with the Vols. Rocky Top. Out to 3.5. Total 146.5. I don't think it's playable at this price at 3.5. I do like Tennessee. I think they win this game. Earlier in the week on the show, we gave out minus 145 on the money line. It's out to minus 180. I like Tennessee. I think positive regression is coming, even though they are playing in a different arena. So, it's not like they're playing for a third consecutive game in, I believe they were in Memphis during the first two rounds. But, what Matt and Kai talked about is what I also kind of leaned into is that Creighton is a team that has a big rim protector and Ryan Kalkbrenner, and they really want to funnel you into the mid-range. And Dalton Knecht is going to be just fine with that. I think Dalton Knecht is going to have a really very solid game tonight. And I just think that the backcourt, specifically Stephen Ashworth, is going to struggle a little bit here with what I anticipate to be pretty big-time pressure. Remember, Tennessee has been pretty strong offensively, but their calling card's defense. Their third best defense in the country, fourth best effective field goal percentage, 28th in three-point field goal percentage. On the flip side, Creighton is a top, I believe, 15 three-point shooting team. So you've got a really kind of contrasting style situation here with these two teams going head-to-head. But ultimately, I'm going to lean on the defense. I know last night the defense the defensive team did not prevail over the offensive team, Illinois beating Iowa State. But here tonight, I think it is Tennessee for me in this spot. I think you get a bounce-back performance from Dalton Knecht. I do like the Volunteers to win this game against Creighton, and Creighton, who is 32nd in the country in three-point percentage, elite from inside the arc. I think it's going to be fascinating to watch these two teams go head-to-head. And similar to my bet on Duke, JVT, if Creighton's hitting their threes like they did late February in Omaha against UConn, well, guess what? Tim on the YouTube chat, you're going to be feeling real good because when this team can hit their threes and bomb away, as we learned, they can beat anybody because it looks like no one can beat UConn, and Creighton beat them by double digits.
Yeah, I think all those points make sense. Look, it's not just for Tim, but as we've kind of talked about, these are like two of my children fighting. Like I really do.
And
like
he does
both
have
of these
two
teams.
children.
I do. I really like. I enjoy both of these teams.
Yeah.
We've talked about the merits of Tennessee. You've brought up the fact that I think overall the conversation around the Volunteers is a little overblown with the past failings. It's very hard to win a national championship. I don't know if anybody knew that. And with Creighton, the style that they play, the slow pace, the ability to shoot threes. Again, when you're an underdog, ratcheting up the variance, even though you're only an underdog of 3.5, still very works really well in these scenarios. So I like these teams a lot. I'll say this, if we continue, and there's not what time does this thing tip off at?
Creighton, Duke, Tennessee, after 10 o'clock Eastern.
So we'll see. Maybe we do have plenty of time for this thing to kind of keep going. If we get to full 4 or maybe 4.5, I'll probably get in and have a late night sweat here on Creighton.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I'm on the money line, so maybe we can have a little middle there. We're going to go behind the counter, get the latest. I know people like betting splits, where the action's coming in, where the sharp action's coming in. We'll have all that for you top of the hour, so make sure you stick with us as we talk to Chuck Esposito. But let's hit on the two games that will start this upcoming hour and an update on the market. We'll jump to the one that will start at 7:39 in Detroit as the money continues to come in on Gonzaga. All the fives are gone right now. It is 4.5 across the board. Just to note, this thing did open, and you laid 4, right, early on.
Yeah.
This thing opened 3.5, and I'm looking at DraftKings. Within 8 minutes, it went from 3.5 to 4.5 back on last Sunday. So it opened 3.5. It looks like it got out to 5.5 where it stood most of the week, and now you're getting that late maybe number grabbing, whatever it may be, on Gonzaga here. Like I said, I did not play this game. I would lean Purdue with you in this one because I'll let you kind of tee it up because these are I'm stealing your words because it does feel like Gonzaga can shoot themselves to a victory, no doubt.
Absolutely.
But I believe that Purdue's just a better Gonzaga. That's kind of the way I look at it. Their post is better in Zach Edey versus Graham Ike.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And look, I think that when you look at the way that Purdue, as you've mentioned, has improved, man, and the underrated part about Purdue is they are the best shooting team in the country. They have such balance. So when you're talking about the ability to work through the low post while also kicking it out to guards, if you're going to draw a double, spreading the ball around, as you've mentioned before, the guard play has gotten better for Purdue. It's something that let them down last year. Looks like it's going to be better this time around. And again, I think that obviously Purdue is not a perfect team, but I think if you're going to get after them, it's going to be by, of course, perimeter play. And when Graham Ike leads your team in shot, in usage and shot percentage, all those sort of things, I think that's not really what you want to be as a team. Now, you said it. Gonzaga can shoot very well. They can totally get after it. But I think with Purdue and the way that they have kind of evolved here and how much more comfortable they look and, frankly, how impressive they've looked. If we're going to give UConn credit for wins over Northwestern and Stetson by the fact that they've been dominant, Purdue deserves the same amount of credit for absolutely steamrolling both Grambling State and Utah State, one of which was a regular season conference champ in the Mountain West. So I think that I've just been impressed with what Purdue has brought to the table, and we'll bring it back really quickly to here in Las Vegas. We talked about it the night of the West Coast Conference Championship, where I felt like I was looking to play against Gonzaga because I thought the market was looking for any sort of success. They got it in that Kentucky game. They got it, of course, at the end of the season. But I think that this team is looking for the chance to play against them, and this is the opportunity I took.
Wags in the YouTube chat said, Creighton and Marquette will hush their haters tonight.
I don't know Marquette had haters. I think Creighton does.
Yeah, I mean, producer Britton's the biggest Creighton hater out there.
Does Nebraska exist?
I mean, your guy, Tominaga, is going to be going up against Jack Golke. We're going to be cheering for Jack Golke over Tominaga in the three-point contest. All right, top of the hour, we go behind the counter. Get the latest. Where's the money coming in? Who will the book need?